There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am, of course, your host, Nick. I am here to talk, all things Twilight and Twilight glittery vampires, all that stuff. That's, what we do. We don't talk about the Twilight Zone. We talk about, I don't know, Bella and vampires and Edward and werewolves falling in love with young kids, that type of thing. We talk about that. We don't talk about can someone tell me to be quiet so I can have my silence? Anyone?
Oh, I like how you work that in.
Yeah, nobody. I was wondering if anybody was gonna place a bet with me to shut up and stop talking through the entire
I'll pay
episode.
you $50 million if you shut the fuck up this whole episode.
Shit.
In the words of Archie Taylor. Let's see here. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Hang on, sorry. Where is it?
Trev, I'll pay you $1 million to not say that joke again.
Your nightly financial folderode is overstated, and we are not interested because it's nonsense and shit.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do, people. We are a nonsense podcast that does nonsensical things. And with that said, if you want to listen to those nonsensical things, you can hear them on audio feeds like Anchor and Audio Boom and Cups of Uranus and Apple Podcast and Give Me Loans and
the Jugal.
What else?
The Google.
Yeah, the Jugal. And Jonathan Harris and his not wanting to make sure his person gets money, that type of thing. No, we're on Google Play and of course Amazon Music and all that stuff. So rate, subscribe, stars, all that stuff if you want us to succeed. If you want us to not have crying children. Jacob doesn't want to have crying children anymore. He wants money. Give us money, people. We'll do it. We'll do anything for money. Anything. Even cut our I don't know. I'll cut my hair or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, without further ado, I am here. We're here. We're back as usual. We have, of course, Triv and Jacob. How the hell are you guys?
Henry Cavill.
I'm not living in a glass house. That's super invasive and weird.
Man,
me neither. I'm good. How about you?
I know. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for saying you're good. Yeah.
I feel like I'm the only one who's not talking nonsensical craziness tonight. That's odd to me.
Well, I mean,
trying to get a beat on the situation.
we gotta get the nonsense out before we talk about this like super serious episode. So that's how I'm trying to roll the episode. And then so you guys are both doing good. Everything working out. Everything
Nothing's
working fine.
falling off. So that's all I can say.
You're still living in that 2D universe.
I guess, yeah. Last time I checked.
Cool. So they're both doing good, and we have another person with us. This guy is staring into the ether of his fan that is slowly vibrating into existence. That person, of course, is a returning host or returning guest. That is Rob Dodrill. How you doing, sir? How's life? How's everything? Congratulations on your newly you're welcome. Congratulations on your newly released short that you just posted on your YouTube channel. So I hope we've already killed Triv. Triv's dead.
Excuse me. Thank you.
See, Rob, you were brought in, sir. This is actually a interview process because Triv has died of laughter, so we need a new co-host. And you seem like the perfect person to bring on. So welcome.
All I gotta do is this.
Right. Oh man.
Got a couple beers. I apologize.
Triv drinking. That's wait.
Shush.
Yeah.
No, anyways, Rob. Yeah, right. Rob, so how you doing, man? How's everything going? Congratulations, like I said, on your short you just released. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that said, how's everything going? Everything good?
Good. Good. Happy to be back talking about Twilight. It's been a while, I think. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to time, I guess, but it seems like it's been a while.
I think I think we can all agree that when we've gotten to an age where time is just non-existent because it goes way too quickly.
Yeah.
So
It's either been a while or like 2 weeks.
Why not both?
2 weeks. It's
weeks.
but yeah, I mean, definitely I'll make sure Rob promotes at the end, but definitely check out his channel. So guys and gals, I talked last week on our episode, which was the Rip Van Winkle caper, that I've been hugely excited. This is I think this is outside of the Obsolete Man and maybe the Monster to Do on Maple Street. This is one of the episodes that I've wanted to talk about for quite a while. And this is when Jacob and his the Invaders episode, how much Jacob was really anticipating that episode. And there's episodes I'm sure Triv has been anticipating talking about that have come up, and I know one for the Angels was one of those episodes and stuff like that. But we're here to talk an episode that I consider one of the greatest episodes of the Twilight Zone. I want to fight for this to be a top 10 episode, but I don't know how you guys feel about that, and we'll talk about it as we move along. But this episode, of course, is season 2, episode 25, which is called The Silence, directed by Boris Sagal, of course, Steven Seagal's father, because apparently his father was a director. I'm kidding, but his last name's Sagal, which I think is funny. So it's written by Rod Serling, stars Franchot Tone as Archie, Liam Sullivan as Jamie, Jonathan Harris as George, and Cyril Delevanti as Franklin. And Franklin.
There's no slot machine. I'm kind of disappointed.
Kind of cool if there was a slot machine just in his little cubicle room that he was in.
I'd be chasing him around for the entire time. He can't jump out a window because it's not 3 feet off the ground.
Right. But I Jacob, I know. I mean, unless you remember this episode, I'm pretty sure you haven't, because you haven't seen it in a while. Do you remember? Were you? I guess going in without spoiling the ending or anything like that, did you expect it to go where it was going to go, and did you see the ending coming?
You want me to be honest?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't remember the episode. I didn't remember going into it. As I was watching it, I was like, I vaguely remember the whole situation they put this guy in, but no, I didn't remember any details. Yes, I actually made a note. 8 minutes in, I made a note that he did this thing or something. Mark my words.
Okay,
and that's what he did. I'm not saying it was bad.
No. I was curious because, this is an episode that I've watched 100,000 times, I think. But
sure.
I was curious. This is what I'm curious about. This is one of those episodes I think I would always recommend to anybody who wants to watch the Twilight Zone, because I think what this episode ends up doing is it presents a narrative, and that narrative ends up being quite paid off pretty well. And I'm actually curious with you, Rob or Triv. I know you guys have seen this episode probably quite a few times. Whether you remember the ending or not is either there or there. But, going into it, knowing what you know from the episode, one, when was the last time you saw this episode? And two, even if you knew the ending, did it still hit you like it does me in a very potent way in a lot of respects, I guess? What do you guys think?
I thought so. I know you kind of already asked me, but even though I said what I said,
no, yeah.
I still thought it was I thought it was a good episode.
Right.
I liked all the execution and everything. It was a very enjoyable episode.
Yeah, when you told me what episode we were gonna do, so I went back to watch it again. I didn't remember it by the title, but once you started telling me it was about the bet that he couldn't talk for a year, I immediately remembered. I don't know how long ago it was that I saw it, but you just tell me that simple premise and it immediately came to mind, and I remembered the twist and what happens and everything. So it's definitely an episode that has stuck with me, because I don't even remember the last time I saw it before. I just watched it again recently.
Okay. What about you, Triv?
By name, like Rob, by name, I didn't remember what this was, but the second you see the first frame of it, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've seen it. As far as ending goes, it feels like everybody involved, like anyone that was deceptive in some way, shape, or form, got their comeuppance in a way. So yeah, it's definitely an ending that, especially for the era, I would say, like, nobody wins.
Right. And it's ironically, Rob, like I said, I've known you for quite a while, but this was one of the episodes that in film school that I remember vividly, kind of talking to you and some other people about, because the Twilight Zone was one of those series I've watched through my entire life, but there are certain episodes that I missed, and The Silence was one of those episodes that I kind of started watching. Was this film school went on, and we started talking about with the Twilight Zone, and it was one of those episodes, like I said, it's always stuck with me. And I'm gonna be honest, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do the Twilight Zone, was because of an episode like The Silence and just what it was capable of doing, what Rod Serling was capable of saying as a written author. And it's why I like this series so much, because you get we talk about like stupid shit like I don't know, the Fever or the Trouble with Templeton, which I know some people like the Trouble with Templeton, but then we get into episodes like this and it's just like, god damn, as you can tell, I may or may not love this episode. So
I liked I think what was, I don't want to say revolutionary, but what was better, one of the things that was really good about it, it did a really good job of lending itself to a really good second watch.
Yeah.
Because a lot of some episodes, like the twist happens and there's nothing, you might guess it, but there's no hints dropped about the twist. Sometimes there's some, but it's not like a ton of them. I thought this one dropped a lot of little subtle hints throughout that when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, like the whole, when he asked him about what he's been eating, because that was what solidified my, I made that note. And then a few minutes later, they asked him about the eating. Has he been, how's he doing? He's been eating good. And he was like, not for the first week or two, but after that, yeah, he's fine.
And that's what, I mean, we'll get into it. That's why Jonathan Harris's character is so like integral to this episode. Is he's like, do you really want to be doing this shit? Do you really want to put yourself through this? Because he's gonna want the money at the end. And are you sure you can do this? And the lawyer, Jonathan Harris, who plays the lawyer, keeps telling him, are you sure you want to do this?
I think I think what it did well is it almost sort of played off what people expect, because at this point everybody's watching the Twilight Zone like when it would first come out, and even now, and you're like, okay, what's the twist of this episode going to be? And they're really trying to kind of misdirect you and saying the twist is going to be the revelation of this old man and his bet.
Yeah. And
then they kind of reveal that, and you're like, okay, yeah, I saw that coming. And then they really reveal what the real twist of the episode is.
Yeah.
Kind of a 1-2 punch, really.
Which, to be fair, this is based off Anton Chekhov's The Bet, which I went and looked at the synopsis. It's similar, but it's not like 100%. I think the lawyer character is the main kind of, I wouldn't call Archie an antagonist, but he's like the more gruff individual, the one that places the bet with the Jamie character.
Archie?
Yeah, Archie.
I think he's definitely the antagonist.
You consider him an antagonist?
Yeah, I mean, in this story, I mean, if not him, who would be?
Actually, Cyril Delevanti, was he another Twilight Zone episode? I seem to remember he's the butler.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but he
looks really familiar.
Because he looks really damn familiar. A lot of the people in this episode look really damn familiar. The guy who plays Tennyson, I looked back at his backlog too, and I just perused it, but I didn't see that thing that jumped out where I went, oh yeah, there it is. But man, that guy looks so familiar.
He looks like Matthew McConaughey to me a bit.
Yeah,
maybe, but I mean, the young guy. I was like, man, I've seen him in something like that would jump out to me. Not like, oh, he was in that, and I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah, and I couldn't find it. Maybe he just looks like somebody, like Tripp said.
Oh, that's where I remember him from. The butler played the old man who had the thoughts in The Penny for Your Thoughts. That Dick York's character was thinking was going to rob the bank.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They pops up in the Archie was was it Archie? Not Archie.
Yeah,
the lawyer. Well, he was the doctor. He's Dr. Smith, right?
Yep, that he was. Yeah. One other thing about this episode was it was, at least by the trivia, it says that it's one of 4 episodes that notably contains no science fiction or fantasy elements.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, was the other one The Fever? Because that just completely threw all logic out the window.
Well, I'd say
I think they probably consider that.
I know.
Yeah, just a little bit. The power, the power of gambling, you know.
Well, it has
the
like
power of gambling compels you.
Yep, exactly.
No, Cyril Delevanti was the Night of the Iguana. Is that what it was called?
Night of the
Okay.
Iguana.
With what's his name? Richard.
Sounds like a Sunday night in my bedroom. I mean,
It was
Richard
Richard
Burton.
Harris. He was with Richard Harris in Night of the Iguana.
No, Richard Burton.
Oh yeah, Richard Burton. Sorry, wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, and then he was in
Wrong dick.
Soylent Green.
Twilight Zone.
Was he made of people too?
Yeah. He looks like he's old enough to look like he was eating people or something like that. I don't know.
That's what she said.
But to get in this episode,
real quick before we get into that, I do have
No.
one major issue with this off the bat. Doctor
that?
Who did not show up at all.
Doctor. Wait, what?
There's a Doctor Who episode called The Silence, and it's like these creepy.
Oh yeah.
With
Is that
alien.
one with the angels?
the alien
No.
looking things.
Yeah,
Like
they're
faceless
aliens.
aliens.
Yeah.
Matt Smith there.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay,
The
I was thinking of
stuff
the one, the angels.
No, they're just called the Weeping
The
Angels.
Weeping Angels.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that shit scares the fuck out of me. By the way, the Weeping Angels. I think it was actually,
So they took
we
it too
talked.
far and they lost some of their mystique
Well, that's
They tend
true.
to.
later on.
It's
But at
funny
first,
because the Weeping Angels episode I thought was like creepy as fuck, and then I realized, like, as we talked about this before, but I was thinking like, it'd be nice, just send me back to the I don't know, the early 90s when inflation wasn't like a major problem, and everything seemed to be somewhat, even though there was still like a lot of crazy shit in the 90s. I think it would have, just send me back to like the 90s, send me back to the 50s. I don't care. But send me back to a time.
Google and Amazon stock.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be like the guy in Time Cop where Jean-Claude Van Damme comes back
Shows
to
up
get his
with a
partner.
machine gun.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the Wall Street guy.
yeah. Could have been a brighter day. Anyways, so The Silence is a episode that is about a bunch of rich people who are not really rich people, but yeah, I guess you call them rich people who basically are at this club. This I don't know, it's kind of like a gentleman's club. Is that the best way to put it? Not
Yeah, it'd be a
club.
gentleman's
Yeah,
club.
I just
And
put club in parentheses because I was like, what kind of club would this be? Like what do they call it?
it's a
Lounge.
gentleman's club. That's
Yeah.
proper. Like it's a
I guess when I think gentleman's club, I think of a strip club, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, sure.
Hey,
we'll go with
Nick.
gentleman's club.
Smoking lounge.
You
Yeah.
son of a bitch, true.
Is it the same one from the Abe Lincoln time travel episode?
It probably
Very
they probably
possibly.
filmed at the same time. They're like, we'll just reuse the set. We'll film an episode for like 3 years from now. It'll be fine. It's still
Yeah.
good. It's like
I think
the
it
pig
was.
in The Simpsons. It's still good. It's still good.
well, and I think the thing of note with these guys is from the start, they may not be rich. They might just be of note. Like they
Well, they're
could
not
be
all rich.
no, very true. But they could just be of note. They may not be of
Triv. I'm gonna
Yes.
bar. Where's the bar button for Triv?
I'm watching that Angel Trip.
Yep.
Can I reject Triv from this podcast? Yeah,
Well, you don't like my wings and extra hands?
It looks
like
like someone's
Goro's
like.
wings.
Looks like the angel's like really excited for your back or some shit. I don't know
Well,
what's
that's the
going on.
hope. Yeah, that's
I
kind
give
of
you
the-
a back scratcher.
Oh, that'd be nice. I'd be happy with that.
Uh,
I mean, they're people of note, but not necessarily, and of proper breeding. But that
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily that doesn't assume wealth from generally.
I don't know if there. I'm pretty sure there's trivia. I'm pretty sure there's not trivia, but we're introduced to Liam Sullivan's character Jamie, who's very much a gossiper. He talks a lot. He's just like on and on and on. And they do a thing where they did in Scrooged, where John, the guy that played the main head guy in Gremlins 2, John Glover, is that his name?
Yeah, John Glover.
Yeah, John Glover. And they do the thing where he's talking and you see like Bill Murray's eyes. I saw what you did, Trev. You see Bill Murray's eyes like light up before he freaks out. That's the same thing that's happening here. They do like a close-up shot of
His
Jamie's
ear.
face. Yeah, and his ears just like
like
moving on its own. It's pretty great stuff. But I kept thinking of this gentleman's club like from Trading Places. I was just waiting for because it's very similar. You have this crotchety old like guy who seems to have money, and and then we find out he wants to place a bet with this up and coming young kid or young guy who seems to always ask for money. So I was thinking it was like Don Amici's character or something like that, and you had what's his face, Dan Aykroyd or something like that, but. Basically what ends up happening is he calls his lawyer who's played by Jonathan Harris, who plays George, and Jonathan Harris's character, the lawyer, is like, this is a very bold, risky thing. Are you sure you want to do this? And that's when they bring this. Trev, what are you doing? I see what you're doing. I may be talking, but I see what you're doing. Oh man. So with that said, Archie's character, I kept calling him Archie, but he calls him Mr. Taylor. But anyways, his name's Archie. He approaches Tennyson's character and offers him this bet. He says, I am tired of you talking. I'm tired of you asking for money all the time. I will give you what is an insane. We talked about, I think last week during the Rip Van Winkle caper, how much money is. What's that?
That's not what he says. He says, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!"
Oh my god, that's hilarious. He's like, I'm tired of your.
That's all they need to do to just cut to that scene.
The one in Jack Nicholson and Mars Attacks. Shut up! Shut up!
Or that guy in the terrible movie with Jamie Kennedy where he's the rapper.
Oh God, Malibu's Most Wanted.
Malibu's, yeah, and he's like rapping, and like the other gangster guys like, stop.
We do like what's his face from Network. I'm mad as hell. I can't take it anymore.
Doing it live. Fuck it.
But yeah, basically everything we just talked about, that's what basically Archie is. He's pissed off and he can't take it anymore, and he basically gives this note. This note is given to him by the Franklin character, and basically Tennyson is like, what are you implying? And it basically boils down to, I will give you $500,000 if you remain silent and shut the fuck up for 1 year. But the rules and stipulations of exactly shut up.
Shut up. Yeah, shut up.
I do gotta ask you guys, have you guys ever had a
you got her going?
I know, right?
She's going from suck to blow.
Tennyson basically is offered 1 year if he remains a year silent in a glass wall erected room in the game room. Apparently this game room is gigantic and can fit a whole bedroom, and I don't know how big this
that.
Yeah, well, yeah, go ahead with your question, because that gentleman's club is mighty big. Is it a TARDIS?
Yeah, and I looked on this time, and I was really looking, and there's no bathroom, and it's like a
Yeah,
full-on glass room. And so I was like, did they let him out to go to the bathroom, or did he give him like a fancy bucket?
My question is,
Then did they watch him in the bathroom?
Would it take to house someone like that in that situation for a year?
100%.
In that place, erecting this glass structure with all the stuff, and he said you could have whatever you want. I feel like it could potentially cost $500,000 to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Can we talk about
all this money on building it?
Yeah, and it's like
next week.
Yeah, how did they have it ready that quickly? It's like, oh, we've been planning this wink, wink, nudge, nudge forever. It's not my sex dungeon, I swear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we talk about super secret societies? I mean, usually this kind of stuff is what you find in like a super secret gentleman's society. You might find like, Freemasons and other societies that I may or may not know about. Anyways, so they may already have a glass case instructed. They may like have boxing matches down there. They may like keep like, sex workers down there. You don't know what they do, Triv.
Definitely sex workers.
Yeah, well, they're all old guys. It was pre-Viagra, so they couldn't get it up.
Well, I mean,
Just
have you seen that Liam Neeson sex slave movie or whatever it is?
Yeah,
What's
but
it
that's
called?
modern. That's not
Taken.
from the 1960s.
Yeah, Taken.
They didn't have Viagra. They had to use a penis pump or nothing.
Well, I mean, if you know anything about Austin Powers, all you need is mojo. That's all you need. And a
No,
penis
these
pump.
guys did
Penis
not. Are
pump.
you kidding? These guys were like the antithesis of Mojo.
I mean, it's true. It's very true.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
honey, stroke me with $100 bills. Oh, baby, just a little bit more. I can't get it up. Never mind.
I don't know.
They're
But
dusty, if anything.
anyways, so Tennyson is taken a little bit aback by this, but he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. We'll start tomorrow. Wrecked your
Yeah.
game club room
ahead of
with the
ourselves.
wall. What's that? No. Oh yeah, I know. Trust me, I'm getting there. But anyways, with that said, he agrees to the wager. But I don't know how you guys feel about this, but this may be the most insane, crazy, and most wonderful use of not only the Twilight Zone music, but of Rod Serling's like chaotic nature about how he writes his opening narrations. It was amazing. I think of all the narrations I've heard so far, I think this is actually because they use the Twilight Zone music.
Yeah.
And
They use it
so-
multiple times too.
Yeah, and I might put it when Jacob gets ready to read the opening narration. I'm gonna make him a note for myself now. I'm putting that music in there, unless it's copyrighted, isn't it? Son of a bitch, I can't do that.
If you pitch shift it, you can use it.
Yeah, I'll just speed up. I'll speed run it.
No, just pitch shift it a bit.
They've hit me with a copyright strike for that Mortal Kombat theme on so many videos. I always win.
Dude, I was gonna say I never had issues because I pitch shifted it slightly and then sped it up slightly.
Well, when not Tennyson, Archie Taylor, yeah, Archie,
Yeah,
he says like he's my fucking hero. He walks up to this annoying guy who's just like talking non-fucking stop, and they're going over this deal, and he's like, "Well, what? Why would you say this to me?" You kind of feel bad for the guy because like his feelings are hurt or something. Because like in front of everybody, told him to shut the fuck up, and he just says, "I dislike you intensely, Tennyson." I was like, "Yes, that guy." Do you know how many people in my life I just wanted to walk up and say that to? I think I'm going to just start saying that to people because there's a lot of people.
Dislike you.
And also, I wanted to comment on when he says, Tennyson tells him, "Well, okay, I'll do it, but give me." I can't remember. I think he said he wants a check or something certified, and he wants it
Basically,
as-
yeah.
yeah, he
Yeah.
wants proof that you got the money and all that. And
I got the money, honey. If you got the time.
It's like you don't got the money.
Nope.
Archie says, "I don't know how they run things. This isn't a fish market or a porn shop." Now,
Was it porn or
I
pawn?
swear, I'm pretty sure he said pawn, but it sounded just like he said this isn't a fish market or a porn shop. I was like,
that would have been
Rewind
interesting
what?
to have this set in a porn shop. That'd been quite interesting for a 60s show. Yeah, you guys in your flashy imagery, I swear. Oh Jesus.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I know. Oh, Jesus Christ, I know we've gotten ahead of ourselves. Would you guys stop? Son of a bitch. But anyways, I know we've gotten ahead of ourselves on the
That's what she said.
on the opening narration of this episode, but I want to talk about it like a little bit ahead of before we talk about opening narration. But the opening narration is quite good, and Jacob, have at it.
Thank you, my good sir. The note that this man is carrying across the clubroom is in the form of a proposed wager, but it's the kind of wager that comes without precedent. It stands alone in the annals of bet making as the strangest game of chance ever offered by one man to another. In just a moment, we'll see the terms of the wager and what young Mr. Tennyson does about it. And in the process, we'll witness all parties spin a wheel of chance in a very bizarre casino called the Twilight Zone.
Oh man, some good stuff. Adding a little bit of Twilight Zone music.
Anal?
Yeah, the anal. Yeah, the anal. I do like that in this episode they also use like the spinning was it like the spinning stuff they use at the beginning for the intro for the Twilight Zone. They use a portion of it and like kind of like the countdown to when Tennyson is in the box, and there's like that like quick shot of like the opening to the Twilight Zone series.
Oh yeah,
There's
the
one.
kind of misty stuff.
Yeah, which I
The stars.
that
Or
yeah,
whatever. That's not stars. I know what you're talking about, though.
It's like a
coming in and it goes,
misty-
"Wah,
yeah.
wah,"
right.
just like that.
But basically Tennyson takes up the offer and he is in the block. He said, we'll do it tomorrow night. I just gotta get my affairs in order. Apparently he has a wife that is used
Never
very
visits him.
prominently. Yeah, yeah, which is I don't know how I guess the question well, that's what
He's
we'll
like,
talk about.
yeah, go away for a year. That's fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, at first
Oh,
when I
that's
didn't
fun.
realize he had a wife, but like how it's used is actually kind of brilliant later on because we find out like a little bit about his wife. About actually, no, it is before the act break. His wife, he talks about his wife because the lawyer goes up to him. He's like, just don't do this. You know, it won't be good. And he's like, well, my wife has expensive taste and we're broke and all this good stuff. Exactly. But before actually I'll ask you guys this before we get into like when he goes down to the glass box of emotion, what do you guys think about this? Because like the setup for Archie is he's angry, he's pissed off at Tennyson because the guy will not shut the fuck up. He is, you know, as you guys have alluded to, he's like, shut up. You know, you can see that kind of running through his head. Tennyson is a guy who he seems to he's like the guy, he's like Marty McFly in the Back to the Future, where if you call him chicken, he'll like fly off the handle at the, or he'll take it, you know, take the bet or whatever. And he's willing to do it. And then we find out about his wife. We find out he's always asking for money. But what do you guys think about this setup? Like overall, what do you think about how it starts to kind of unfold before we even get to the, because once again, 24-minute episode, you have to this episode is doing a lot, but for this setup, what do you guys think overall? And I'll start with you, Rob. What do you think?
I think they build it up really good because right off the bat, you have Tennyson just kind of running his mouth and just the cutaways that you see from the other people around him, just kind of almost avoiding him or ignoring him. They kind of already established that he's kind of this goof that nobody really cares about. And you just get the sense that he's one of those guys that just runs off and says whatever he can. And then what's the main character's or the old man's name?
Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker. And when Archie Bunker is like talking about how, you know, he tries to borrow money from people and he's a crook and everything, it really kind of sets up later that makes him seem even more hypocritical because he's also broke and he's just, you know, claiming the same thing about him. He's just kind of I don't want to call him selfish because you can kind of understand from one point that he just wants quiet while this guy's just running off at the mouth. And really in the beginning, you see Archie as more of the protagonist. Like you kind of side with him more because Tennyson just looks, or just seems like annoying. Yeah. Like somebody that just is going to tell you whatever they can to make themselves look better.
Yeah, and you can kind of see like even through the small amounts, like the nature of the old generation versus the new generation, even though this is the 60s, so Tennyson's like view of everything would be like completely alien to what we view, but you can kind of see like the old versus new Rishi, I think that's how you pronounce it, type of thing where Taylor's like, he was a colonel. I'm guessing he was in the military. They call him the colonel, or maybe it's just a nickname for him. But you see it between him, and you see like how Tennyson is that more like, you know, suave, you know, swashbuckling type of guy who, even though he's a con artist, he's very much like the charisma guy. He's like, as stupid as it sounds, he's kind of like how The Rock can kind of secure money every time he turns around to make shitty movies, and this is what this guy does, and that's kind of where I look at it. But I mean, I'll go to you and Jacob or Triv, whoever wants to go next. I mean, what do you guys think about the kind of opening stuff?
So from
Triv, go.
Yeah. Honestly, I looked at this and it's like conflict resolution was not their thing, because I guarantee you there were probably better options, and all I could see was a bunch of stupid ass men, you know, throwing their dicks around.
Well, yeah, because they're all cheering it on. They were like,
well, and even it was just like there was, and I know that's not the point of it by any stretch, but like common sense was not present in this room in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
For any of them. And that's not the point by any stretch. But God, I just was sitting there like, okay, if it's bugging you that much, come at off hours. You know, you're retired. You're clearly, you know, you got means. Go yeah, you're gonna spend $50,000 on this, ready-made sex dungeon thing that you got in the games room. I mean, why cause yourself that much stuff? I don't know. But no,
Just have quiet.
Exactly. From the perspective of the way that they set it up, it was very well done. Yeah, there's no complaints as far as like, he threw down a gauntlet and, Tennyson felt the need to pick it up because, he was told that he wasn't liked and he's like, I dislike you intensely. You are the bane of my existence, you bastard.
Shame.
You will fuck
Tennyson
around and you will find out.
Didn't Tennyson say something like, if this wasn't a gentleman's club or something, I would take you outside or something along those lines?
I will take your wife out, or I will take your mother out for dinner, or I will treat your mother to a nice dinner, and then I will not call her the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't such a gentleman, I would shake your hand intensely.
So with that said, we come after this whole thing in the opening narration and everything. Basically, the rest of the episode is Tennyson in a glass case of emotion with every amenity, because basically Archie's character offers him anything he wants. He just can't fucking talk for a year. And when we find Tennyson, he's been in there for about 9 weeks, I think, at this point, or close to it. And as Triv, I think I can't remember who said it earlier. Basically what happens is Archie asks Franklin, like, how's he been eating? He says it was okay for the first couple of weeks. Now he's fine, back to normal. And basically before the act break is just kind of, just Tennyson in a room, and of course Archie kind of watches with cautious emotion or whatever. He thinks he's not gonna last more than like a couple more weeks or whatever, but
starts fucking with him about his wife.
Well, yeah, that happens after the act break, but
yeah, exactly.
But basically, yeah,
4 police officers the other day.
She was a star of Bang 'em, Hang 'em, and Tag 'em. I don't know.
Actually,
OnlyFans.
Yes.
Actually,
back in the day.
Let's say the act break actually happens before he sits down so we talked about everything that led up to that. But yeah, so basically, like, as you guys were saying, after the act break happens, we talked about, like, the lead up and the setup and stuff like that. A little bit of everything that happens, like, Tennyson talks about his rich spending wife and stuff like that. She, as Jacob has alluded to, a gold digger, it seems like, at this point.
She ain't dealing with no broke.
Yeah.
Fingers.
Can I ask you guys this question? Okay, Jacob, I know you're married. Rob, I know you're married. I got to ask you guys. You guys love your wives. I know this for a fact. I talked to you many times. Let's say you're in the situation like Tennyson's in, and you have a wife that likes to spend it, like, all these really expensive places, buy expensive jewelry and handbags and stuff like that. If you're in Tennyson's situation and Tennyson's logic and reasoning, would you be, let's say your wife wanted to go out and start spending a lot of money. I'm pretty sure you guys would put kind of a stop to that, wouldn't you? Would you be like, care, like how do you feel about what Tennyson says? Because, like, I've known people who are kind of they're whipped and they're kind of broken by their kind of by either their husband or their wife, who is very much like that type of thing. But I'm pretty sure, I at least I don't know your wives at all, but for the most part, but I'm pretty sure, like, they're not. You guys have a handle maybe on this situation. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it feels like Tennyson's like,
man, you've seen what's behind this green screen. I'm the one with the spending problem. Should probably ask her this question.
No, I know. No, but I gotta ask, like, this type of thing that happens, do you feel sorry for him, or do you feel like it's his own fault for allowing this to happen? Like, what do you think? Triv, you can say what you think too, because I know you had relationships and stuff, but
I feel for the guy, because I guess that's a form of love. He wants to make her happy. She have whatever she wants and all this and that. But yeah, you're right. As some of you know, I've been married one other time before and had this problem. And that kind of thing will, in all honesty, will, unchecked craziness like that will hurt a relationship for sure. Whether you get it in check or not, it really depends on the person,
Yeah. You can tell someone 10 times in a row to do something, and if they don't want to do it, they're not, because
we don't know anything about his wife, that character, Is she a straight up gold digger? Is she just a nice lady who likes to spend money? Or is she like play on his clear, affection for her and use that to her advantage to get what she wants? We don't know. So, I mean,
well, I got to say this. I think that's kind of interesting to have something like that, because as we've watched and you guys have seen, and Rob, I'm sure you've seen this as well, whenever there's a character, whenever there's like a wife or a husband or whatever that, depending on where they're shifting to, you always have that other character there. But in this episode, it's mainly focused on these particular characters. And they do talk about the wife, as we learn after the act break. But what's really interesting is she's only mentioned as a ploy, as a device, instead of like who she really is, which shows that like they're able to restrain or able to refrain themselves from going that extra mile of making her like super crazy or super, important to the role. And I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I found that kind of interesting. Just
I wish we got more of that. I thought we were.
Yeah.
More of the, not just that, but more of the Archie Taylor more of his little ways of trying to get Tennyson to break. It really just comes in.
Yeah, that was a good
wife's been.
Yeah, kind of devil on his shoulder kind of
She's
deal.
been getting trains run on her whole thing and all that. But I mean, like, I figured he was going to come in, like how he said, she hadn't visited you once and you've written to her. I figured we were going to find out like he was keeping those letters or something. And
I wouldn't be
they
surprised.
weren't getting to her, or maybe she tried and he wouldn't let her, or I was wanting to see some of the like sneaky conniving things that Taylor was doing, presumably doing to try and break Tennyson, but I didn't get any of that. And I thought that would have been cool for the wife. That would have made sense why we never saw her or heard anything about her. I mean, I guess it makes sense as it is, but
I sort of got the impression, and without giving the twist away, but the links that he went to try to get the money, and that he talks about her spending problem, but he seems to not be wanting to stop it.
Yeah.
And yet she doesn't visit him once. Seems like it's sort of a relationship that's not balanced. Like
one-sided.
Yeah. Like he's really obsessed with her and will go to like extreme lengths to do whatever she needs to get whatever she needs.
How much?
But she's just like, I just want the money.
Back alley.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like all these people are saying they need money, but they're doing these things that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny part. It's
and
like
are they paying for her lifestyle throughout the year?
That's a good point.
That's true.
He's not working
or
whatever he does for money.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about, once I go back to Trading Places, they spend the two old men, the Don Amici, and I can't remember the other guy's name, the guys that run the company,
Stafford or Walford and Stafford or Statler.
Yeah. Basically, they pump all this money into Eddie Murphy's character, and they pump all this money to ruin Dan Aykroyd's character. And yet they only spend $1 on the bet. It's the same thing here. Like they put all this money into the effort of like the glass box and, all this stuff. And really, when it comes down to it, Archie never had any fucking money. He lost all his money. And that's why I like compare the two, because it's just like, the rich people talk a big game and they use that ability of like how smooth and how charismatic they are, but underneath they may not be exactly what you expect. And that's what's so great about Archie's character and how he's written, is he comes off as like this grumpy old aristocrat individual who is basically conning this guy into doing something that he doesn't think is going to win. Because if you think about it, if you see this guy who loves to talk a lot, he's not going to last. I mean, that's why the twist ending is so brilliant, is the simple fact that it's like he, as we see as the episode moves along, Archie does everything in his power he offers him $1,000. He offers him $5,000. He basically goads him into thinking we don't know, but he goes him into thinking his wife is basically a hussy or a slut or something like that is, you know,
Whore.
a hua, you know, a hua.
Well, that's kind of the Twilight Zone, the way it handles a lot of its women characters to start with. So they're either
Well, yeah,
and
or
that-
rude or whatever. Yeah.
exactly.
Bad
But
drive.
Out there
that
buying all the Tupperware and shit.
Yeah.
they're running Jacob over in our intro, you know, that type of thing. No, but like I guess I gotta ask you guys that question. Do you think that having the wife be used as kind of a pawn piece, depending on if she did this or not, if he's just using it because he's trying to get him out of this box, we see it's having as we see from Jonathan Harris's character, an actual effect on the character himself, you know, the way he's like sweating and freaking out and stuff like that. Do you think that was a good use of the character that is the wife that we don't ever see or hear or is even cast in this movie? Or do you think it's a bad use? Like, what do you guys think about that? Because it's an important part to, you know, Archie's kind of overarching character as a human, as a you know, piece of this thing.
As much
think
as I would have liked to have seen something of the wife, quite honestly, it didn't need it. If she had shown up, I don't know what she would have really added to it.
It might have broken him down further though. Like
Yeah.
his resolve was based on the fact that it was him versus Archie. That's kind of what it came down to. He said his he said his lack of, or he said his jaw, and that was kind of where it stopped. And he wanted to prove that Archie's silver tongue wasn't enough to kind of, you know, manipulate him to change his ways. If his wife would have come in, I think that would have like lessened his resolve, which would have been interesting, but
I agree. I don't think she was necessarily needed. I think if you did bring her in, if you were going to say, oh, we're going to bring her in, I think it would have been one of the few episodes that would have benefited from the, what was it, one season that they did hour length episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe this is one episode where, I don't know if an hour, but I think you could expand a lot on him being terrorized by Archie and all that. But I don't think as it stands, I don't think you necessarily need it, but I think it does make you question, like, it's been a year and she hasn't visited once. So
because once they get to the glass room part, which you think is going to be the crux of the episode, it goes by pretty quick.
Yeah.
They have like one conversation and then it's over. I mean, the stay is over.
I like the superimposing of the time going by the months. That was pretty clever, but
which I mean, I don't really know what they'd be showing you. I think that would be one way that would have been an interesting way to expand upon the episode, to show some of the stuff that happened during that time. And like I said earlier, some of the ways that
the receipts
Taylor was
piling up from
there you go.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I kind of wonder
the porta-john used or whatever.
Right. I was kind of wondering if maybe like Tennyson told his wife, you know, just, you know, maybe we'll be swingers. It is the early days of the 60s. Maybe we'll swing. You can go out. But then again, he was like acting. Maybe it was like all a ploy from Tennyson to, you know, keep his secret and stuff like that. But, you know,
or he's like, she's never visited, and he's like, but there's no women allowed in this club.
Well, there you go.
It's like the Simpsons no homers allowed or something like that, or the He-Man Woman Haters Club or something. Shit.
There you go. I feel bad that he didn't get the chance to leave like that space. Like that would have, you know, set up the glass elevator or the glass thing so he could, like, you know, go out on a boat, which, you know, he's still inside the glass thing. I mean, you could have given him a companion and let him roamed around and, you know, still had the same result.
They should have done Bubble Boy. Why couldn't they have done Bubble Boy? They should have done yeah.
One thing that I had to like constantly remind myself of when they're like, oh, we're going to be monitoring you 24/7. Like immediately in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they got microphones and cameras around and stuff like that. But then I remember, oh, it's the 60s. So they actually have to have a person somewhere following them around, even into the bathroom, listening, going, you're not talking in there, are you?
I hear a bunch of moaning. Does that count as talking? Oh yeah. I don't know. This is maybe talking. I'm not really sure.
Keeps a blow up doll in there or something.
Not exactly words, but
those smacking sounds.
Yeah. They pull a space balls where you just see the crew behind the camera just run out with the boom mic and the microphone. Just like as he's going to the bathroom, you see the mic just go.
Mr. Taylor is a word.
But
I was thinking, I did in fact make that note. I said 8 minutes in, but the other way I saw this episode could be going, and I was like, it's highly unlikely, but it'd be great. if like he does it, take it what he actually did, say that didn't happen, and he does it, he makes it, he gets to the end, he's like, haha, I won. And we think he won and all this, and then the old man's like, oh, but you didn't. And we hear like he like plays a tape from the microphone.
Oh yeah,
he's talking. He's like, you were talking in your sleep or something like that.
I'm really digging the deal.
This was the first night you were there.
The old man comes in and he set all the clocks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
time.
yeah.
It's like, but you didn't.
Yeah,
That would
It's
have been
actually
Twilight Zone right there. That would have been some.
Yeah.
They set the clocks forward straight, or like a day or something.
forward. Yeah.
An hour, no, 10 minutes.
It's
I
like
set it forward 2 minutes.
it's like that Richard Pryor movie where he's given like a certain amount of money to spend in like was it a year or something like that.
Mr.
You
D.
can't have any.
Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brewster's Millions. And then the two guys that are scheming against him keep like what $5 or whatever that he it's like that type of thing, you know. Tennis or Taylor Archie was like, fuck this guy, I'm setting the clocks back. I'm setting it back. I'm taking it back. Oh man. But with that said, we get close to the end. He's been goading him on for however long it's been going on, saying your wife's a gold digger. She's been with several guys. And it leads to the end where basically Jonathan Harris kind of, if I remember that's right, John Harrison approaches, says, you're gonna owe this guy money if he wins. The clock rings and Tennyson enters the room, a free man from the bet. Everyone claps. He holds out his hand for the check. Let me know if I'm forgetting anything, but basically the lawyer
He enters
Archie,
very proudly too. He's like,
I know. Yeah, he's just like super excited. He's won $500,000. And like I said, the lawyer's actually been kind of our conscience through the entire episode. He's like, Archie, you've destroyed yourself. It's a year. How the hell are you going to pay this guy? As we know, he's not going to. But what's great is he holds out his hand for the check, and Archie goes, Archie, I had sex with your wife. She took all the money. I don't have the $500,000 anymore. No, she don't really say that, but he basically says, I'm a fraud. I'm not who I say I am. I lost all my money. I don't have $500,000, and that would have been fine if Jamie or Tennyson had opened his mouth and said, "You motherfucker," blah blah blah, choked him to death, whatever. That would have been an interesting payoff because, like I said,
my wife's name out your mouth.
Actually, that's the premise for Bad Boys 2. Is just, I made a joke to someone that the premise for Bad Boys 2 is just him slapping Chris Rock every 5 minutes. Bad Boys for life.
Like Bernie Mac and Head of State.
Exactly. He just in the train station. Oh yeah, actually, don't they do that in Airplane? Where he just starts punching everyone.
Yes.
Okay, so but everybody's confused about why Tennyson hasn't opened his mouth, why he hasn't said anything, why he isn't like yelling at Archie, and Archie's confused too. Well, the reason I said this last week, that this episode is kind of one of the great twists, one of the great endings. And Rob, I haven't even mentioned it. I've let Rob's wearing an ascot. One of the great moments in this episode is the fact that the hidden idea and twist is hidden in plain sight. And the simple fact that this guy is wearing an ascot, Tennyson is wearing an ascot, is very important to storytelling aspects. The idea that the things you don't think about or see. This is why the idea of red and the Sixth Sense is so important to that storytelling aspect, is because of the simple fact that it tells you everything you need to know. You could kind of figure out that Bruce Willis, spoiler, 25 years later or whatever, that Bruce Willis is dead just from the simple opening, because there's the shot. What? He gets shot in the way. I'm sorry. He doesn't die. He lives.
You bastard.
No, if you haven't seen that movie, I know. We're actually talking to Rob from 1998. So, but anyways, the great moment, the great thing about that kind of twist, or the idea, is the idea of red, and the idea of like how that plays out and how.
But this was in black and white. There was no red.
No, I realized that. Thank you. Like our episode. No, anyways, my point being, there are pieces and thoughts played out that the director and the cinematographer and the writer Rod Serling have placed into this episode I'm trying to make a point here. The point I was making throughout this entire episode, there are pieces laid out which makes it great storytelling. Rob, the play, like the idea of storytelling and stuff like that. Well, he's wearing an ascot through the entire half of this episode, and you're like, it is the 60s. They are known for wearing that kind of stuff, so you don't think about it. But what Tennyson basically writes out a note and gives it to Archie. We find out why he's wearing the ascot, and this is why I love this episode so much. He has dun 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 explosions, whatever you want to say, severed his fucking vocal cords. Therefore, he can't talk. Thank you, Jacob. I always can have you for explosions, whatever that word is. And
first person said it to me, but thanks.
you're welcome. But anyways, therefore, but the problem is he's not getting the money. He lost everything. He was in a room for a year. He severed his vocal cords. Therefore, he can never talk again. Let's say, I don't know if they have surgery for vocal cords, which I don't think they do. And basically, his vanity and his my throat.
My throat broke.
But
have you tried turning it off and turning it back on, sir? Have you cleared your cookies and your cache?
Yeah, his knob will never go to 11 ever again. That type of thing.
That's what she said.
His knob will never go to
his speaker box. But basically his vanity and his arrogance, because he's very arrogant. He's always asking for money, has led him to, as we'll hear about in the closing narration, led him to ruin. And Archie's led to ruin. And basically in the end, they're the same person. They're arrogant. They're characters that are lying to get what they want. And because he has credit, Archie has credit, that gives him the ability to scam people into doing this. And it basically makes, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, whatever. If you are not true to your word, you are looked upon as I can't remember what that word's called, as a pariah. I guess they're pariahs in the end. And it leaves with that. It leaves with this guy severing his vocal cords, which is, to me, one of the greatest endings in Twilight Zone history, because you're thinking, why, this guy talks through the entire episode, and it's brilliant because it allows this character to not talk. But why is he not talking? And then you have the ascot. I don't know. I gush about this episode, as you guys can tell, but I mean, what do you guys think about that yourself, like in general, just as a closing and just how it kind of structures itself?
That was very what's the one, the pig face people?
Eye of the
Beholder.
Yeah.
That was very Eye of the Beholder in its reveal. So it had that same kind of dun 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 big reveal that, like, holy shit. I just wish I hadn't. Yeah, I don't know if I guessed it because of the time I live in. If in 1961 I would have guessed that, and maybe I'm not saying I'm like, oh, I can guess all things. I usually don't. Maybe it just something popped out to me, and I said, yep, cut his vocal cords, or I said removed his voice box, but whatever. That kind of took away from it a little bit, but it was still, I still really liked it. I thought it was a cool, oh shit, haha, like, oh, you're both fucked kind of moment. I don't know. I guess the old man's kind of in the same spot he was before, except, his pride was hurt. He's just kind of like, I didn't have no money yesterday, and I still don't.
Well, at least I can talk.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Now I'm going to go talk to your wife.
Use my non-Viagra powered dick.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done, and I like those kind of sudden reveals. Those I don't know if it'd be an ironic. Oh yeah, I guess it's an ironic twist of fate to a degree, but those sudden reveals that change everything like that. I like those. Those are the best Twilight Zone episodes, I think.
It takes it back to his greed in the beginning, where he was doing whatever he was saying whatever he could to get money, and then in this, he was going to do whatever he could to make sure that he got this money. I guess in a sense, I'd kind of consider that he cheated a bit to, like.
I'm surprised nobody said that.
Even if he had the money, if they found out he cut his vocal cords, I'd feel like they'd go, "Oh no, you cheated." Because
Rob, that was the next line of the dialogue that they cut out. As Rod Serling was talking, like the next guy was like, "Rod, I was going to tell him he cheated. What are you doing? Stop talking."
That's why the episode just ends so quick.
I know. Triv, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a solid ending. Very what we've come to imagine Twilight Zone to be, like the very, and we talked about it last week too. The very best episodes are the ones that kind of hit you out of nowhere, leave you with that ending that makes you go, oh wow, even if you suspected it, it's still a thing where it kind of catches you off guard, makes you think, and all that stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where it wasn't a happy ending. Everybody kind of got their just desserts, really.
Well, let me ask you guys this: would this be an episode that, if somebody were to like give me some episodes for the Twilight Zone, would this be one of those you would recommend as like one of the first ones they should watch?
I don't know if it would be like one off the top of my head. I would like if you said, "Oh, name 5." I don't know if it would necessarily be one of the 5, I would say. But if someone said, "Well, what about Silence?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a good. Yeah. Check that one out too, definitely." 10, maybe. I did like. I mean, I did really like this episode. I thought it was very well put together, very well performed, and everything. It sucks I picked it out before it got there.
Well, actually, let me ask you this, Jacob. As somebody, I mean, you're pretty good at kind of deciphering like what's going to happen. I've kind of figured that out, which is not a bad thing. I think it's just the nature of how you can kind of distill storytelling and stuff like that. Well, but I mean, just for the most part, I would say as someone like, if you were to show this to, I don't know, your wife or a friend who doesn't kind of get this, do you think they would find the ending surprising, or do you think they would be like, that sucks?
Yeah. My wife, I mean, nothing against her. I don't think she would have picked it out.
Right.
But I mean,
I'm just
also, I've been watching, and I don't know if I wasn't watching every single episode of the Twilight Zone once a week, to review, I would have looked at it from that. If I may have just sat there and like taken it in. But since I watch these, every week, I've gotten in this groove of as soon as it starts, it's the Twilight Zone. As soon as it starts, it's okay. What's the angle? What's going on here? I try not to, but you can't help it. Your brain's just racing all over the place. It's like, oh, it could be this, could be that, could be this.
Yeah,
it's kind of like when you're watching like a horror movie or like a detective movie or like a thriller. Yeah, you kind of look for those angles.
You watch like a like Knives Out or something like that. A murder mystery. You're trying to figure out who is it and why.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun.
That happened to me with the Knock at the Cabin. I was like, what is the angle that M. Night Shyamalan is going with this film? Yeah. Rob, same question for you. Like, would this, like, if you were, I mean, the ending, but like, if you were to show this to someone you don't know, or you don't know, that'd be a bunch of people you don't know. But if you were to show this to someone that was kind of interested to watch it, do you think they would get the ending, or is it just clever enough to kind of catch you off guard?
I think it depends. If I were to show it to just like somebody who's maybe not an avid movie person, or just like a general audience type, I think that they probably wouldn't expect that as much. I think because they do a good job at kind of throwing you off the track by putting it out there that Archie doesn't have the money, or there's something going on there, and so they're going to say, "Oh, the twist is that he's not going to have the money to pay." And I don't think they may not expect that. There are things there that hint at what the other twist is, but I think in general it would stump, I think, a good percentage of people. And it'd be one that I would recommend, but like I don't think I'll probably remember the title now, but before, it's one of those that I'd say, oh yeah, there's an episode where there's a bet about, somebody I can't talk, but I don't remember what it is, and I have to go and Google it. Whereas something like Monsters Are Due on Maple Street or Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up, I can just remember those titles. Yeah, but they also have very unique titles that go with that unique story. Whereas this is a unique story, but the title goes with it, but it's not quite as a prominent title that stands out to you. Like, it's a really great episode, but it's without the sci-fi or the horror elements to it. It probably doesn't jump out as much, even though I do think it's like one of the top episodes.
Yeah, kind of like Time Enough at Last. That's always one that gets recommended just because of its ending. Yeah. Like I said, as we've gone along, I realized my personal feeling on Time Enough at Last is like diminished quite a bit, just because I still have problems with the suicidal nature of that episode. But
so the episode has a great ending, but just like the episode that I championed for quite a while after we watched it was Third from the Sun. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic ending. Like, wow, mind-blowing, holy shit, that's awesome. But then when we get talking about it, look at the rest of the episode, you're like, I mean, nothing else really happens. It's like, no, it's all build up to that, and the build up is just kind of, I mean, it's fine. I enjoyed the episode, and the same thing with Time Enough at Last. It's like everything else is like, yeah, it's fine, it's okay, but then the ending is the whole thing. The whole episode depends on the ending.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said,
from our evenly killed.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask. From our angle of this episode, I mean, overall, what did you guys think of it? Like, we've been talking about it, or I've been talking a lot about it, but I know you guys have interjected and that's just because of my ecstatic nature for this episode. But what do you guys think overall of the episode?
As far as rating, or just
just in general, like, you know, you talked about how much you enjoy it, but like when you think about the episode and kind of where it ends up playing out, like what is your overall feeling of the episode? It was, yeah. Rob, I love how you just have pacing notes. You're just like, either you're doing it really quickly or you just have it just like there, which is awesome.
I mean, it's no invaders.
Yeah. I feel like the title lets it down a bit, and it both covers what needs to be covered, but like Rob said, I didn't remember what this episode, like I know the episode well, but given the title, I wouldn't have picked this title out for this thing. So it does match it, but it doesn't. As far as the episode goes, yes, it's very, very solid episode. Like, you know, the idea that it's not a happy ending, it's not a sad ending, it's not like an ironic ending. You know, both parties kind of get their comeuppance, and that's kind of unique for that time, I would think.
Just kind of an oh fuck ending.
Yeah. And just the lack of, like with Archie, just the lack of, well, I'll, you know, resign, you know, and that's kind of where it ends. Like he's so matter of fact about it. Like he was the one that got so damn emotional about it in the start, and when things don't go his way, he's like, you know, whatever, I'll go find another club. Yeah.
You know, it would have kind of made an interesting twist that went along with Archie not having money. And we already kind of touched on how much money was spent on putting this whole thing together. If they did the twist where the lawyer's more just concerned of the amount of money, but he ends up spending that $500,000 on the bet, which is why he doesn't have it in the end. Rather than he's just already broke. If he just like kept pouring money more and more, like to get this, he's like, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to make sure that that
would have been that would have made it pretty interesting, because, you know, the funny thing about this gentleman's club, you think everybody has wealth. They're in this gentleman club for a reason. And you find out this guy had no money. He's just in there because of his status as a human being.
I think he had money at one point.
Yeah.
Like grandfathered into the club.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about clubs like this, it's more about status than it is money. And you assume money just given the fact that it's a club. And I think Serling really plays on that, you know, if nothing else. So
he even said that for that $5,000, if he'd taken that, I would have had to like start hoeing the streets, you know. So
yeah. I did find it interesting. He's like, however far they were in, 6 months or 8 months or whatever, he's like, I'll give you $1,000. And I know $1,000 back then was a lot more than what it is now. But can you imagine going through all that for 6 months and someone says, oh, I'll give you $10,000? It's like, you know, make it worth my while, you know?
Well, that's why I think what I think is the genius about this episode is he, as Tennyson knows, he cut his vocal cords. So he's like, I'm in it for the long haul. Fuck yeah. I'm not going to, he would, if Tennyson had not cut his vocal cords, he would have taken that money in a heartbeat, because there's no way he would have been able to stand. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, you know, $500,000 would be perfect for me. That'd be a good amount of money to have. But I don't know, being there a year, I guess he does get like everything, but it's just a simple fact that he knew he cut his vocal cords. He's like, God damn you, motherfucker. You're going to offer me this money now? It's just like, shit.
Now my wife's got to do tricks on the side, to, you know, to make up the extra money. And
he did find out that he looks fantastic in an ascot.
Oh, absolutely.
I know. I think we should bring it back. We're bringing it back, Jacob. Bring it back the ascot.
Go ahead. I'm right behind you.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if Mickey Rourke can pull off what he pulls off in his day-to-day outfits, hey, bring back the ascot, I guess.
Hashtag bring back the ascot.
For your guideline in life.
Nice ascot.
But with that said, that is The Silence season 2, episode 25. Fantastic episode. I think we all agree it's a really good episode, at least. Depending on where we put it is like where I'll cut the cords of my vocal cords and never talk again. But no, I'm kidding. Anyways, with that said, this closing narration is also pretty much a banger. It's a little long, but it's also a banger of like Rod Serling going, yeah, you should, you know, be careful what you wish for type of thing. So Jacob, have at it.
Let me bang away. Mr. Jamie Tennyson, who almost won a bet, but who discovered somewhat belatedly that gambling can be a most unproductive pursuit, even with loaded dice, marked cards, or, as in his case, some severed vocal cords. For somewhere beyond him, a wheel was turned, and his number came back black 13. If you don't believe it, ask the Cropper, the very special one who handles roulette in the Twilight Zone. Ask the what? The Crouper? What is that? Is that the person who turns a
Grouper, it's fish.
grouper? Not grouper, but Crouper.
What does it look like? Like
It's a
what's the
wheel
word?
of fish.
Oh,
Grouper.
fish.
Is it Croupier? Crouper?
Croupier?
Croupier?
I'm not
Croupier?
familiar.
Hold on, I'm
I mean,
looking this up.
it sounds as if it's like person who like spins a roulette
Yeah.
wheel, or
It'd
I
be
guess-
like your dealer
um,
type of a thing, probably.
The person
heard
in
of it.
charge of a gaming table, gathering in and paying out money or tokens.
Huh.
Is that how is it pronounced? Is it Crouper or Croupier?
Croupier,
Croupier.
Huh.
croupier,
Said that all wrong. That's the
croupier.
croupier. See, that sounds so much cooler.
Croupier.
It rolls off the tongue. I'm like the Crouper. I asked the Crouper, very special one who handles roulette wheel, Twilight Zone.
Here's one. Clive Owen was in a movie called Croupier. It's about what is it? This came out what
Croupier.
1988. Jack Manford is aspiring but yet unsuccessful writer.
We
Against
love
me, against
fish.
his better judgment. He takes a job as a croupier at a local casino. The interview.
I'm the Croupier.
Yeah, someone appointed at a gambling table to assist in the conduct of a game, especially in the distribution of bets and payouts. Croupiers are typically employed by casinos.
The wheelman.
You know what it is?
Spin
It's basically the
goddamn wheel,
dealer.
wheelman.
Yeah, it's basically the dealer, the one putting out the cards to the.
Someone could say that Rod Serling is the Croupier of the Twilight Zone.
Oh, absolutely.
Should we,
I
should we put
didn't
that as our
realize.
lexicon word? Croupier.
Absolutely. One thing I didn't notice when I watched this with the closing narration was that, I mean, basically Serling is saying, well, you know, fuck Tennyson, he's the dumbass here. Like nothing against Archie per se with this one.
I mean, he did come out on top.
That's what she said.
We should write a sequel to this and kind of sketch out what would happen. What would happen in the sequel to this?
And
With-
when
with
the apple's in the
Tennyson?
barrel, he did come out on top.
Well, the gentleman's club transitions the glass room back to a sex dungeon as it was originally intended.
All they really did was tint one side of the window, make it mirror.
Basically, yeah. Tennyson
They-
goes on to write an in-depth novel about the nature of cutting your vocal cords.
Everyone in
How
the
I
club
liked it.
feels so bad, so they all pool their money so that Archie can have money again, and then they throw Tennyson out on the street.
Aw.
They're
It's like
every
we are
ti-
Marshall.
Yeah, they're like every time a man cuts his vocal cords, an old man gets his money back.
Teacher says.
My guess is that the lawyer gets fired for
Rich
being
guy
for-
makes money.
Well, no, what
Keep
happens
quiet.
is there's a big scandal, and they turn this place into a casino with a you know, the old man turns into, like in The Simpsons, the old man becomes the gambling machine, and yeah, and then the lawyer goes off to be a scientist or a doctor that's stranded on a planet, and people die, and it's just constant like scandals. So
3 hours.
Tennyson goes home, and his wife asks him if he won the money and if her plan to cut his vocal cords worked.
Oh,
I mean, he doesn't have vocal cords. He wouldn't be able to make any noise, which he does kind of go. I guess that's exhaling. You could make that noise, but
well, and I know with like mute folks, that's not necessarily a vocal cord thing, but like you can still, there's
You
still
can-
like, you know, like
yeah, you can exhale, but he wouldn't be able to make like groaning noises. He'd be like,
I think
that's gonna be in the.
he-
You're gonna send me a picture of that later.
um,
I'd be like,
hey,
do
hey,
that
I
face.
can't help
Is
it.
that
You have,
your
like, the
O?
greatest
Is that your
pictures.
is that your O face? Because it's a very nice O face.
oh, face.
You should be proud of that.
Oh.
You know, it's kind of funny to me about what happens with Tennyson is
Check it that new chicken.
he it's a simple fact that he didn't get that certified check. Like he's so vain and stupid. He just like, yeah, whatever. He'll
Okay.
probably pay it to me. He just it's so
This ain't no
ridiculous. but I
fish
find it-
market or porn shop.
What do you think this is? Walgreens?
Okay, so let's do the last segment, which of course is the ranking list. You guys should all have the ranking list at this point. I've actually had I've had to separate the ranking list into 3 sections because we're so far into the series that it won't in the chat. This is a funny. I don't know, Rob, if you know this. Zoom chat won't. If you have like a whole list like I sent to you, you have to break it up or it won't post. It like doesn't sense. Like it's almost like it's broken. It doesn't sense
Character
what
limit.
you're. Yeah, character limit or some shit.
So deep into the annals of Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Our list is 3
but
times deep.
but this ranking list is the greatest ranking list since we cut our vocal cords. This that type of ranking list. But so with that said, I'm gonna start with, is this a top 10 episode?
Let's see. Our top 10, I the Beholder, The Invaders.
That means it would be above Perchance to Dream, Jacob.
It may be a top 10 episode. The Purple Testicle, Nightmares of Child, Nick of Time, World of His Own.
Oh, by the way, I
and
never really talked about this. Pace Magazine has this listed at 31. And once
I'm
again,
the one that originally brought up that whole paste.
Oh, I know. I keep forgetting to talk about it though. But they once again, Perchance to Dream at number 9.
Honestly, I mean, because I went past 10, I'm looking at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I actually did enjoy this one more than any of those. As far as beyond 10, I know you love The Howling Man. I like this more than The Howling Man. Nothing against that one.
Damn it. I'm trying to drink my hot cup of Uranus.
Which is A World of His Own. Oh, that's the one, the soap opera or the movie guy. His wife's a gold digger again.
Yep.
And
she ain't messing with no broke.
But he has an elephant. That's all you needed for an episode to be in top 10.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah. That was
Elephant.
that one. That was the last episode of season.
Yeah, that was the writer.
That was the fourth wall break with Serling.
There at the end. I thought that was a good one. I don't know. What are you guys thinking? I just did a lot of talking and made no decisions whatsoever.
We won't ask you to slash your vocal cords because that would be rude.
I would put this above Howling Man and below World of Zone, but I have 2 other people. I have 3 other people in this that have to make this decision as well. So
you have 2 other people and me.
2 other people and Jacob. He's alone in the desert, cursing us for Perchance to Dream being so high.
I could see it being between A World of His Own and The Howling Man, but it's tough because The Howling Man is, I think, equally a great episode. I could see this being like at 9 or 10.
This is going right underneath Perchance to Dream for me.
Son of a bitch. You were excommunicado. Silence!
Too late for that.
I'm gonna cut
See
you
what happens when you murder the podcast in the middle of our holy sanctum.
What was Nick of Time again?
Nick of Time was Shatner and the coins into the asking the future.
Okay.
Diner.
That's another one where the title doesn't quite match the.
Agreed.
I enjoyed it more than Nightmare as a Child. I just thought Nightmare as a Child it had its attributes.
I would put this above Nightmare as a Child, but I don't know if I'd put it above Nick of Time. Maybe.
I like A World of His Own more than this one.
Yeah.
So I would definitely put this above Time Enough at Last, just because that ending is the only thing that redeems that whole entire episode. The Howling Man's hard because I like the Howling Man so much. I just like the concept of like the devil playing a schmuck to let him loose.
I really like the Barbie-sized like shepherd's crook that they used to hold the door shut.
That little twig.
Yeah. Honestly, I could see it 9 or 10 or 11, anywhere kind of in there. Like it's a solid episode. It's like it's got the merit and the kind of pedigree of being one of the few Twilight Zone episodes that doesn't have a lot of the elements that we come to expect from a Twilight Zone episode, but it still lives everything that a great Twilight episode is.
Mm-hmm. Very quintessential.
Yeah, I love A World of His Own. Nick of Time is great. I would agree. I think this is. I don't know if I could put it above A Nightmare as a Child just because of what Nightmare as a Child did. How it still haunts me to this day. That fucking episode still haunts me to this goddamn day.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed this one more, but I admit that one had more relevance.
Well, and even when we started this whole thing, we had that place, and I think Nightmare as a Child was the cutoff for that, where those episodes were the ones that like they had a greater thing than just a morality message. They said something more. They felt more personal to maybe what Serling is.
If it was just me here all alone by myself in this basement, naked,
without Jeff.
Jeff is always watching.
Hey Jacob, I have to ask: would you at least wear an ascot among your nakedness?
Of course, 2 of them.
See,
Just
Okay,
don't wear
so-
socks.
But you have to wear socks. You have to wear socks in an
No.
ascot.
No, you
So you
don't.
got to have the socks for afterwards.
Well, yeah, as long as you're not wearing them
Ascot
on your feet.
and a shirt, and that's it. No pants.
So you're Porky Pig in it.
Yeah,
You don't want me to walk that way.
yeah. He's
Why do you
right.
think
you
gotta have a
can't see
shirt,
below
'cause
my
you never go
waist?
naked with socks. It's just not a good look.
Yeah, agreed.
So I mean, okay. So with that said, do you guys want to put it above the Howling Man or below the Howling Man, or
I'd say above personally, but
That's where I would go if that's where we're at.
Yeah, I'll agree.
I like the Howling Man, but I think I like this one a little bit more. I thought it was I don't know. I enjoyed it more.
okay? Yeah, I
I
can
know
go
that
with
you
that.
guys, or I know Nick, you do, and Rob, it sounds like you do too. You guys have an affinity for that episode, so I'm not the be all end all here.
No, but we're talking about like the top 10. So I want to make sure that we're not just putting the episode in there because I like it. I want to make sure we're putting the episode in there that really feels like an important episode to the Twilight Zone, because when you go down the list, you start getting into shit like I don't know, 16mm Shrine or The Four of Us Are Dying.
that should
where
be
it's just
back up above it to number 10 there.
Okay.
So
For dream.
yeah, no.
Chance to
I
dream.
mean, yeah. Oh man.
I could see it at number 10 or 11. To me, I'd probably put it at 11, just personally.
I
But
understood.
it's a hard. I mean, it's like they're pretty much even, I think.
They both have the things that make them excellent.
Yeah.
So I
Devil's
mean, I guess the question remains:
costume was
did
not-
you guys like the Howling Man better or like the Silence better?
I like what the silence did a little better, but that's me.
I think the silence, I mean, it's been a little bit since I watched Howling Man, but I feel like the silence felt more, I don't want to say a complete story. Like the Howling Man always felt really fast to me.
Right.
Understandable.
Yeah, I think
The
you're
Howling
right on
Man
that.
seemed like it needed more time. Not
Yeah.
just this one
Like
could have
that- it-
used more time and added to it, but I feel like it still told its story, got all of it across. The Howling
'Cause-
Man, it did that, but I think it could have benefited
Yeah.
greatly from more time.
Yeah, because the funny thing about this episode, it feels like every inch of it's used like good.
That's what she said.
Anyway, you know what I mean. But like it feels like
know.
nothing's wasted. It feels like it's meaty. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's
It's erect.
Meaty as hell.
It's girthy.
Welcome. This is girthy.
It's also quite erect.
Hey, he does. They do say that Wikipedia. So, but
They
no, in all honesty,
They
it feels
erected
like
quite
an episode.
here.
Anyway, so yeah, I think number 10. I think that's fine. So
Well, and the one thing that this episode has that Howling Man doesn't is the use of the Twilight Zone music, like underneath several
Mhm.
parts of it.
I would agree with that actually. I think Triv, you stumbled across something.
Yay.
Was the Howling Man second season? That was second season, right?
Early second, right?
It was real early.
Yeah, it was like the second or third episode of the season or something like that.
Okay, because I was gonna
There
say,
is-
well, that wasn't a theme when it came out, because the theme didn't come along until season 2. But
Yeah, it's crazy to
it's
think
season 2.
about. That you think
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
They're both season 2, so
There is one actually other thing that's kind of interesting, and it's not, it's kind of it works in my head, but I'm not sure if it works out in the world. So you got like the devil trying to tempt people in Howling Man, and then you also have Archie trying to tempt Tennyson in this to kind of give up and stuff. So there's that kind of that devil on your shoulder, whispering to you.
sin, greed, all that.
Yeah. And not to say there aren't other episodes that do that, but since we've come down to these two specifically, they kind of address the idea of, that little nagging voice behind you in different ways.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So
It
yeah.
doesn't mean
Triv,
anything, but yeah.
Hey, it always means something.
Eh.
Whether you like it or not. No.
Yeah.
Very
no.
thick.
You're right, I am quite thick. Wait, that didn't come out right.
That's what she said. Okay, so yeah, I think that's a good spot.
Wow, okay.
Put
Um,
it on time. she said.
But yeah, I think that's a good spot. We'll put it there. So new number 10 is the Silence. Glad it made top 10. I didn't know. Honestly, I would put it top 10, but I didn't know if you guys would too. But it's cool. So number 1 is still The Eye of the Beholder. Number 61 is still The Trouble with Templeton. Don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. So with that said, the next episode is actually ranked number 4 on Pace Magazine as one of Twilight Zone episodes. And I know, Rob, I think you've talked about this episode too. This is one that is considered like one of the episodes that I don't remember, but it's considered a great episode. It's season 2, episode 26, called Shadow Play, and it's directed by John Brom, written by Charles Beaumont, based off a story by Charles Beaumont called Chamare, I think it's called. But it has, of course, Dennis Weaver in it. Charmy. But it has Dennis Weaver, Chinchilla.
Chimchimarie, chimchimarie.
Chinchilla?
Chim.
Yep.
But anyways, it has Dennis Weaver. You may know him from, of course, Duel, the Spielberg TV movie that he did.
Duel.
And of course, has Arch Hammer from The Four of Us Are Dying, who played by Harry Towns, Wright King, and Barry Hamilton. Like I said, I don't remember this episode very well, but I know it's supposed to be really good from what I hear. It also got remade with Peter Coyote in the 1980s, so we'll look forward to that. That's the next episode. And Rob, as always, you and your collection of Rod Serling Funko Pops, we always appreciate it.
Yay.
Yep, exactly. Great Funko. That I don't know why there are no Funkos for Twilight Zone. So Rob, like I said, made his own. It could be Paramount being dicks.
There's not a lot of Twilight Zone merchandise in general.
Yeah,
it's true.
we looked up that little thing from Nick of Time.
Was it like $1,500 or something?
Yeah, it was something crazy,
stupid expensive. Yeah,
and it wasn't even like original or anything.
That's crazy. But Rob, you've come on a few times, but you have, like I said earlier in the episode at the beginning, you created a short that's really good. Stars, of course, somebody that you and I both know from film school, which is kind of awesome. But where can you also have another short that you did with somebody that you wrote that, of course, won some awards, which is cool. But where can they find at least your content and all that good stuff?
You can go to youtube.com/Robert Dodrill.
Damn.
And my the short that I just put up is called Beyond the Fall Off, and it's a short horror western, and it's about only a 4-minute short film, but I had a very talented guy that did some monster CGI in it, so it's got a little monster in it, and then here's a little screenshot from it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I watched it today. It's pretty awesome. And then you I don't think I've ever talked about this, but your intro for your production company is awesome too. I love the Svez, right?
Svez.
Yeah, Svez.
That it's a history that comes from way back when I was used to be a pro wrestler. It's a little acronym from a wrestling team I had, which actually one of the other things I'll be doing in the spring is a little bit more acting. I don't do acting very often, but I'm going to be acting in a short film that's about a pro wrestler. And so I'll be, after, I don't know, probably 12, 13 years, getting back into a wrestling ring, doing just a little bit of wrestling for doing that. So
cool.
I'll realize how out of shape I am very quickly. Back into that.
Remember to warm up beforehand.
Yeah.
Stretch out them glutes.
And so that'll be in like the spring. I think April, they're shooting that here locally in Florida.
Okay, Triv, I usually go to Jacob next, but I'm going to go to you because you're, in your crazy wildness, beer talk, and angels and stuff like that. If they want to find your James Corden, Henry Cavill channel, where can they find that at?
You can find me here. Thank you. I appreciate it, Judge Judy. You can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I do a wide variety of random, obscure, and straight up bad movies. Most recent thing will have been my collab on the Apple, which highly suggest checking out because it's a fun collab and lots of weird, fun crap is set in there, and highly suggest it because it's underrated classic as far as that goes. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Trivial Theater.
Yes, you and Narcotic Casserole are aces in that episode. So
it was great. So
yeah,
hopefully get more eyes on it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Jacob, I know you actually just finally put out a video. You were so excited to talk about it, I'm sure, as I could tell from your face expressions in that episode. But you of course posted a video on a new was it Neil Blomkamp or Neil Marshall movie, but where can they find that at?
You can find me on YouTube at Jacob Anders at YouTube. It's no, I think it's just Jacob. It's Jacob Anders Reviews, but I think the link is just Jacob. I don't know. Just look up Jacob Anders Reviews. You'll see me. I put out a lot of videos. I'm still uploading 1 or 2 times a week. And as I've been saying for like the past month or so, I'm working on something big, and it's coming soon.
That's what she said.
Soon. I'm not prepared.
That or it's a
Whip it
giant
out
dump.
yet.
We're not sure which.
But soon, coming soon, I'll be able to tell everybody, hold on while I whip this out.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Twitter.
She?
At Red Neville 2. That's what she said? Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what he said. I'll whip this out.
Well, 2023, so who knows?
Exactly. So with that said, you can find me at Movie Emporium. That's where all my content. I just did reviews for Poker Face and of course Knock at the Cabin, which apparently a lot of people didn't like. But yeah, find us on audio feeds like Anchor and iTunes and Google Play and Amscot and all those great places. Rate, review, subscribe, all that stuff. But for myself, Triv, Jacob, and the man formerly known as Rob, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Peace out, guys. Okay. Jacob, I'm gonna need you to bring up that Rob, I'm gonna need you to bring up that the Rod Serling action figure. Jacob, I'm gonna need you to say, no, sir, I don't like it. Damn it, Triv. I'm trying to talk about a super serious. I'm trying to talk about a super serial episode here.